Week's Facebook Live. This week we're going to talk about part two, and it's all about step three of a plan to help you deal with your stress. So let's get into it because there is quite a number of points I want to make. And the first thing is just a reminder that last week's part one was all about step one and step two, which was about raising your awareness, looking at the symptoms and triggers that you might have, and for you to do a little bit of homework and journaling on that, and to find out exactly how, how stress affects your life. So today really is all about moving on from that and having some short-term actionable steps that we can actually take. So some immediate small steps that you could make quite quickly and quite easily in your life, that might help reduce your stress. The only thing here I would say to you is, in everything from here on out, from all the other parts, do not make too many changes too quickly. It's just not going to stick. It's a lifestyle change. Small little baby incremental steps are going to bring that lifestyle change that you need to reduce your stress permanently. So make sure that you're only taking really small steps, and don't make too many at once. So one at a time is the key to this one, to make sure that they actually stick. So step three, start by taking back some control. Basically anything I'm going to talk about in this step does and is covered by your basic self-care needs. You really need to be meeting your basic self-care needs, because they lay the foundation as far as I'm concerned. And I talk about that in my book, The Building Blocks of Self-Care. They lay the foundation for good physical and mental health. Based on the first three layers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So not all of them are going to be covered in this one, but between this week and next week, I will cover them. So if you don't get your basics covered, this is why we run into trouble in the first place. We're not setting healthy boundaries, we're not looking after ourselves, and then it leads to all sorts of high levels of stress and physical health and mental health problems. So one of the first things that we look at as therapists is to look at your actual lifestyle, and where we can make small changes. But we'd only do one thing at a time. So we might talk to you about getting, changing looking at your eating, your sleeping, and we'd look at, are you exercising and things like that. And basically that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Some of those I'm going to be talking about today, and giving you some tips there that you can actually change. And as I said, pick one habit and try and make it stick. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the usual subjects, cutting down on the caffeine, the sugar and the alcohol, and trying to eat a better diet. Now, if you think your diet is, gone out the window, because of stress, you're not having lunches, you're not really eating breakfast, you're just grabbing caffeine, sugary stuff, easy processed foods, then please go and talk to your GP, maybe get referred to a nutritionist or dietitian, and talk about getting your diet more, back in line. I can't give you advice on that, but I do know that caffeine and sugar will actually only make your stress worse. It's going to knock out your sleep cycle. So really, you want to be asking yourself some questions. One is, what does my diet actually look like? Two, am I resorting to sugary snacks or caffeine to help me get through the day? And number three, do I need to check in with the doctor about my diet? Or a nutritionist or a dietitian would probably be better. But start with some small swaps. Even if you are making an appointment to see somebody there, you can actually make some small swaps. Start to take back control. So one thing you could just simply do, swap in some piece of fruit instead of having, biscuits or chocolate bar, with your Lebanese. Simple thing. Swap in, for every cup of coffee you drink, add a glass of water. You have to drink a glass of water after it, for the hour afterwards. So that way you're introducing more water and maybe reducing down some of the caffeine in your system. Or you could just simply try and make time and make sure you have breakfast. Even if it's something you eat on the go, at least try and eat something. I know it can be hard, particularly if we feel so busy and we haven't started to cut back on things yet, that we make sure we have time for breakfast and lunch. The other thing goes out the window. We're very busy people, and busy people are generally very stressed and they don't have time for breakfast or lunch. Particularly lunch is the one that tends to go out the window more so than breakfast. But if you're not eating properly, if you're not eating your main meals even, or even five smaller meals, if you're not taking that break to recharge, then it's only really being more detrimental to your productivity. And it's throwing out your sugar levels as well, and that's going to make you feel even worse. By grabbing, the sugary stuff, by drinking all any caffeine at all. There's caffeine in fizzy drinks as well as some fizzy drinks as well as teas and coffees. Um, it's gonna throw out everything and make your symptoms actually feel worse um, than they actually are. So sometimes when we even cut back down on that, our symptoms reduce when we can cut back down on the caffeine and sugar. So one small choice you could make here, because there's lots of choices if you actually sit down and think around this area yourself and do some little bit of planning in your journal, would be, one choice. What could I do? What could I actually do? And that would be to just reduce the caffeine. So try maybe switching to decaf initially, or better yet, having no coffee after lunch. If you are constantly drinking, caffeine in any sort from lunchtime onwards, it's really going to knock out your sleep cycle. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's going to make your stress symptoms worse again. So it's like a vicious negative circle you've got in there. So, again, try and introduce decaf, or try and introduce, no caffeine after lunch if you can. That might be a little bit harder. But again, as I said, you could swap in one glass of water for every time you have some caffeine, either coffee, tea, or some other fizzy drink with caffeine in it that you actually have water. You can make it more palatable by putting in zero sugar cordial in the water to make it more palatable. Um, so, have a think about it. That's one small thing you can do that will instantly start to help your stress levels, reduce them down, take the edge off them slightly, is by cutting back on that sugar or caffeine. Pick one and just try and work with it. The second thing we talk about, we look at as therapists, would be your exercise, or getting moving in some way, shape, or form. Simple one you can do here is actually just a 10-minute walk at lunchtime. Get up, take your lunch, have your lunch, and then get up and get outside in the fresh air. Even if you're working from home, getting up and getting moving from your desk, set a timer on your phone that you get up and you move around at least once every hour, and get away from the screens. If you're in a job where you're constantly on the move, you're getting a lot of steps in there anyway. But think about maybe making some sort of um, exercise as a hobby or an interest. So it's not only just for stress reduction. There, it's actually, you're building social connection there. You're having, it's relaxing for you. You can have some fun. So think about that. Think about how you can incorporate some sort of form of exercise. Even just getting out for a chat in the evenings, with a loved one or with a friend, and just letting off some steam about how your day went as you're walking. I mean, combines the two, easy to do. Um, Basically, the movement, any sort of exercise will help eliminate the excess stress hormones that you have in our body. So as you're building up stress during the day, and we can have those micro moments of stress and we don't realize it. They build and build and build and build, and our stress levels are going up and up and up. So think about, getting up and get moving as a form of releasing the stress. And why I say move away from if you're doing a lot of walking in work related to your job, if you're going to do something else, go and move it away from work, because it's then relaxing. Find something that's relaxing. So, yoga or Tai Chi or something else that's going to be relaxing for you. Or even something like working out in the gym where you can work out. If you find yourself very angry, very frustrated with the job, it's a good way of letting out that pent up energy. To get moving, get punching a punch bag or something is a really good way of doing it. Now, I know that they recommend 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week, but that's impossible to do for somebody who isn't used to doing exercise. So start with about 10 minutes, a quick walk at lunchtime will try and bring that stress level down during your day. Even doing, or even just after your dinner in the evening, just get out and have a quick exercise and a chat with your, as I said, with your other half. Maybe think about dragging the kids along. It might tire them out, and therefore that's a bonus. They'll go to bed a little bit easier as well. Um, so think about how you can increase movement throughout your day. As I said, get up, moving, even walking around the desk. If you have to go down a floor in an office building, think about taking the stairs instead of taking the lift. Movement as much as possible. Set timers on your phone even to get yourself moving. Get yourself a steps tracker. Start getting awareness around how many steps you're taking in the day, even. So one option that I would pick if this was me would be, to get up and just walk at lunchtime for 10 minutes. Schedule it in, because if you don't schedule it in, if you don't take that break, then you aren't going to actually make the switch and create that new habit. So that is one way that you could do that there. The next option that I talk about you can work on is learning some sort of form of relaxation. If you're stressed, you really need to find a way to relax. And that's vital for stress reduction. Again, you can combine it with exercise, something like yoga, Tai Chi, as I mentioned in the last section. Meditation, any kind of meditation will do. This is going to stimulate the meditation, the breathing part of it is going to stimulate a level of restfulness. It's the opposite of that flight, fright, or freeze mode that we have with the stress hormones flooding the body. So basically, what it does is it helps calm you down, and it helps stimulate the rest and digest phase of our of that central nervous system. So there's a variety of meditation options out there. Some of what I'm going to suggest also has, and if you click into the blog, which I'm going to leave in the description below, you will find that there are free sessions that you can click into and you can try. And then I would recommend, if you like it and you think, yeah, this is the one for me, I'd recommend you go and try and get a class in it. But most of them are, once you get the technique, it's very simple. But again, you have to schedule in time to do it. The first one I'm going to talk about is the 7-11 technique. This is a deep breathing technique, and it really does stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system that I was talking about, calming down into that rest and digest. It's very good for that. It's very good for activating the body's natural response to that and calming us down. So have a look at that one. Out of that is what we call a 3-minute breather, and that, I would say, would be maybe the place to start. That would be my baby step if I was going to choose one of these options. This is based on the 7-11 technique. And basically all you're doing is counting in for a count of 7 and breathing out for a count of 11. It's very simple. You can do it anywhere on the go. And it's all done and dusted in 3 minutes. That's very easy to do. So you're not saying to yourself, okay, I don't have time to sit down for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour's meditation. You can simply do 3 minutes, and you can do it anywhere. You could sit and do a deep breathing technique while you're waiting for a meeting to start, just before you take a phone call, just before you write a report. just before you go, while you're waiting in the car for the kids to be picked up for school, the kids are acting up, you can pop off to the bathroom, do some deep breathing for 3 minutes, and then come back and deal with it. You're calmer. So it is the 3 minute breather is actually one. Once you learn it, very simple. You're just counting. In breath for a count of 7, out breath for a count of 11. Or you can do 4, 6 if that's too much for you. 7, 11. It's easy, simple, and you can take it anywhere. While you're standing waiting at the checkout, you can do it. Nobody's going to know because you're doing the count in your head. Um, Simple one, and that's the one out of all of them I would pick to learn first. You would need to move it on a little bit, but it is one, as I said, you can do it throughout the day to bring the stress level down constantly. But again, you'd need to set up a timer to do that on your phone. But it's a one and done, dusted. If you set up your timer on your phone, a reminder, it's one done and dusted, and you just get in and do it. But you do need to schedule it in. The next one I suggest is mindfulness. Very good for pain relief. That's what it was developed for originally. It's a very simple technique. People think it's complicated. It actually isn't, but it's all about focusing on the breath. You don't change your breath, and you just keep your breathing as normal, and you simply focus on either the breath coming in through the nose or out through the nose, or you concentrate on the abdomen rising and falling. It's up to you, wherever you feel comfortable. It's one where you're training your brain to actually become more aware of the present moment and to stay in the present moment. Again, there are free links out to more of a description as to what mindfulness is, a 10-minute free 10-minute session and a free 20-minute session if you're interested. You can go and have a look at those podcasts through the link in the description below. The last one in this section is on meditation, is about progressive muscle relaxation. This is one that we would do as therapists to help you relax the body, particularly if it's stressed, particularly that tension that builds up throughout your body during the day, and it helps you relax the muscles in your body before you go to sleep. It is one that we would introduce just before bedtime for you to use just before bedtime. Again, there's a free session on that if you want to try it. It will help you feel more relaxed and calm. It does also teach you to recognize where you hold the tension in your body. When you get stressed, when you feel that stress rising, and you start to notice, where am I holding the tension in my body? So it does train your mind to recognize that, and therefore you can do it on the go, as in just focus on that muscle group and relaxing that muscle group during the day. So again, you can bring down the tension, in the physical tension in your body when you learn this one. But as I said, we wouldn't start with the progressive muscle relaxation. We generally start with abdominal breathing or the 3-minute breather. So it's up to you. But the small step there in all of those would be the 3-minute breather. That's the one I would choose myself to start with, and then progress on from there. Because remember, this is a lifestyle change you are going to have to make in order to reduce your stress permanently. The next point I wanted to make was about sleep and rest. It's going to be very quickly. If you are stressed, and I've said it already in this video, if you are stressed, it's going to impact your sleep, but also vice versa, because if you're not sleeping properly, it's going to make you more stressed. So, we've got to try and break that cycle. A simple thing to do here is make your bedroom a no-go area for any TVs, any other devices, your phone, anything at all that's going to be, dinging and blinking and have lights attached to it, or anything that's going to have that blue light. Get it out of the bedroom and make it a no-go zone. That at least that's one simple, and that's a one and done and dusted thing. No phones, no TVs, no other devices in the bedroom. I go in there and it's just for sleep. I've already done a complete video on 11 tips to help you get a better night's sleep. You can go check it out. Again, it's linked in the blog, so go do check it out. There are other small, each one of those are one small step you could take to help you get a better night's sleep and therefore reduce your stress. The next thing I talked about was to continue your journal. It was to expand the journal. We talked about using the journal in step 2 and how to you use it to investigate your stress, how it affects you physically and mentally, and you know what you can, how you can notice your internal and external triggers for stress. And this week what I'm doing is I'm trying to get you to expand that, because there's basically nothing worse than keeping everything locked up in your head and trying to hold it there. You're just not going to be able to relax when you try and keep it all up here. Getting it out, getting it down on paper or into a schedule, onto a Word document or whatever, whatever you want to use yourself, is going to help with the negative thinking, which we'll talk about next week. It's going to not only ratchet up your stress if you're not getting it out of your head, but it's also going to be damaging your self-confidence. You're going to start feeling stuck. Your anxiety as well could be rising as well. So an exercise that really helps on this one is to take the journal and do a nightly brain dump. I've talked about brain dumps before, and basically what it is you get everything out of your head down on paper. It's a lot easier if you can, get a notebook and keep it by the bed, beside your bed, and just before you're going to sleep, maybe before you do the 3-minute breather, is to just get everything out of your head, just dump it all out. Start with the to-do list, the shopping items, the appointments, the phone calls, the emails, everything that's actually playing around up here in your head. And then, you can dump out any feelings or emotions, strong emotions, or, if you're still thinking about that meeting that you had today, get it all out on paper, get it down, and let the brain rest. Have a proper night's sleep. And, calm down, allow you to calm down. You can use a brain dump during the day if you're feeling stuck. I've talked about that before. It's a great way to see where you're at. Particularly if you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck and you don't know what to do next, you're procrastinating, or even if you're feeling in the perfectionist mode, you can just stop yourself, write everything down that's making you feel like I have to have everything done, and then see where maybe you might ask for help or delegate something off your to-do list, or even to delete it off your to-do list. But if you can do it just at night, a brain dump is a great one for getting everything out of your head. If you're including your thoughts and your emotions, it also helps you to start seeing any negative patterns that are there, particularly thinking patterns that might be there that you want to, raise your own awareness around. So then you can start to accept, okay, this is the way I'm thinking. This sort of thinking is driving my action that I'm taking. It's driving my behavior. And that's what we will talk about next week, is how we can use this to start changing that and making changes, long-term changes to our thinking patterns. So if it was me, what would I start with? Well, I'd start with getting rid of all that stuff out of the bedroom. If I've got a TV in there, if I've got my devices and my phones and everything in there, get it out. Just get it out. It's a one done and dusted thing. You just got to remember not to bring your phone to bed with you. After that, then there's a couple of things that I would pick. I do the 3-minute breather. Always good. It's a way to instantly calm yourself. 10-minute walk at lunchtime is a really good one to do. Again, it's going to be using up some of those excessive stress hormones that have already built by lunchtime. And you can kind of reduce it down a bit during the day. Cut back on the caffeine is another one, really good. And an easy one that you can try. I know people are going to be, I have to have my cup of coffee. But most of the time it's the cup of coffee in the morning you're looking for. Um, but by lunchtime, early afternoon, people are feeling a little bit better. They don't maybe need the caffeine as much. So think about cutting that back after lunch or switching to decaf after lunch. I know people say it won't taste the same, but you know, if you don't change it, you're not going to help yourself. You're not going to reduce down your stress levels. And really, those ones, that caffeine is really big one in terms of helping your stress symptoms. So I will leave it there. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you for watching in replay as well, everybody who watches here and on YouTube. And I will talk to you next week. And have a good week. Have a stay safe week and mind your mental health.